What is up everyone? In today's video I'm going to break down one of the most intriguing topics lately on the community, and this is nothing more rather than character builds. Specifically, we're going to cover everything you need to know about Cunning Shadow Swordsman. Additionally, I've decided that splitting this topic into different videos might be a wiser decision, since each spec individually requires different artifacts and different stats, so I didn't want to make the video so long, and this is the reason we're going to review only one of the two specs today. Now without further ado, let's dive in. Now first off, let's go through the basics for those unfamiliar with the Shadow Swordsman, specifically with the Cunning build. For those that are veterans, I'm sorry in advance, but we have to go through them as well. Now every class has a Spectrum Aura, in our case it's called Concentration, and provides us and the whole raid party with a sweet 2% increase in combo and critical chance. Many other classes have the same. Spectrum skill is the key feature, the key skill of our spec. It's called Poison in this specific scenario, in this specific build, and it will inflict damage over time. Also worth to mention that this skill scales based on our attack. Now, the Cunning Swordsman also, every time you need to cast a skill, not all of them, but your first two skills and also the poison will get activated when we have 5 stacks, will require Spectrum energy. So have that in mind as well. The basic rotation, let me reset my stacks. Every time I use the skill, specifically Poison Blade, which is our first skill, I will get 1 stack of poison. Every time I use my second skill, Phantom Strike, in this specific scenario, I'm gonna get 1 extra layer of poison. At the early stage of the game, those are the only skills that can provide me with poison stacks, and I have one option: either to press my Poison Sting, with it's my third skill, consume 1 layer of poison and do damage without energy cost. I can skip spamming my skills, my Phantom Lashes and my Poison Blade to get to 5 stacks, and when I have 5 stacks, the poison will be highlighted, marked, let's say over here, so I can activate my poison. 20 seconds. As you can see, the damage is indicated with a purple icon, so my opponent gets damage over time. My fourth skill, my Fatal Strike, it's the big damage that every class has, will provide me with some benefits as well, a 10% increase on my damage for 4 seconds. Worth to mention that if you have a layer of poison on your opponent, every time your attack is getting increased, either your damage is getting increased, it doesn't matter, the poison will get also increased. In other games, when you cast a dot skill, it matters what attack you have at the same exact point. In this game, it doesn't matter. If I have poison on my target and I use a potion, I use a buff, something that will provide me with extra attack or extra damage increase, it will also affect my poison. Okay? I don't have to recast it, it will get affected, and this is very important. For example, it's a good example as well, because this effect lasts for 4 seconds, but our Vulnerate, which is the most important skill in this class, will last for 12 seconds, so we're gonna have a better view right here. Not only we're gonna get an increase on our attack flat, but each time we cast a direct damage skill, it's the first 4 skills, an additional pursuit that will deal 35% of our attack plus some extra damage will inflict it to our opponent. So, for example, I activate my poison now, you will see 428. If I activate Vulnerate, that will provide me with extra attack. As you can see, my dots from 428 went to 486. By the way, dots can also crit, that's why maybe sometimes you see a higher number. And lastly, the Spinning Blade, it's our AoE attack. Worth to mention that if there are multiple opponents, we will get a reduced cooldown by 1 second. Let's view also our Inscribed Stone skill. This skill provides us with 2 things. Firstly, our Poison Blade will no longer consume energy to be casted, and instead of 1 level of poison, it will provide us with 2 levels of poison. And our poison, which is our main skill, will get way of an increased damage. I will showcase it soon. And instead of 20 seconds renewal on our total time, worth to mention as well that we can stack poison up to 40 seconds. If we have Inscribed Stone skill up, if we recast the poison, it will no longer adds 20 seconds on the total time of the poison, but instead it will add only 2 seconds, but the damage is way increased. Technically, the rotation on Scribe Stone is when you activate it, you cast poison, you spam 2 blades, cast poison again, and you have time for one more skill. And this is everything you need to know about the basics. The most intriguing part, and I believe most of the people are here for that, and this is the talents. Now before I begin, I also want to say some things to clarify my position. I've run some tests, I'm not gonna put all of them out. For the Phantom Slashes, it felt so insignificant at the beginning, so I switched immediately to Twin Blade Slash, and I did most of the tests here. I'm gonna throw a spreadsheet regarding those tests so you guys know the difference between my talent combination, so you know how you can do more damage. But there are also some variations, later on I'm gonna explain them as well, that might differ your talent choice, but this is very late game. Now let's begin, at least until you have a set, let's say, until you complete your 8 pieces set, and you have your stats very well optimized. I'm gonna explain later. Let's begin with the common choices. Poison Sting is the most common skill that you're gonna use in this build. So instead of Poison Blade, we have to go with Sting. You're gonna use it so often. Later on, from the passive talent, you're gonna get damage increase on that skill as well. So it's crucial to have as high damage as you can on that specific skill. Okay, moving on with your poison, gets increased by 10% for 6 seconds. Now to move forward, we have to get some talent, so I'm gonna go for combo points to get my next layer of talents gets activated for me to choose. This is one of the most important talents. Every time you're gonna use your Fatal Strike, which is your skill number 4, you're gonna get 1 extra layer of poison. Now your Phantom Slash switches to Twin Blade Slash. It does less damage, but every time you cast a skill, instead of 1 level of poison, you get 2 instead. Pretty important. Pretty straightforward from here on. To activate the below page, you have to add some more points, so we're gonna go again with combo. Combo is very important as well. Poison is the most important, one of the most important also talents in our spec. 15% extra dot damage, and also we have a chance to regenerate energy. We're gonna move on with Twin Blade Ambush. We need those to get this one, which is the Poison Twin Blade, which is very important as well. Now every time we cast Fatal Strike that provides us with 1 layer of poison, every time we use our Twin Blade Strikes, instead of 2, we're gonna get 4. So this combination actually, as you can see here, I'm using my Twin Slash. You saw how fast you can activate your poison. With 2 skills instead of 5, you have poison out. So this is why this specific build, until that specific threshold, it's so huge. Now moving on, of course, adding more damage to our Twin Blade Slash. Not only we're gonna get a 60% increase on the skill, but also we're gonna get 60% more when the target is poisoned, and believe me, your target will be always on that dot. Now from this point, I forgot Vulnerate as well. Vulnerate actually is your best skill in your build, and get 4% more, make it 16 seconds, plus all those 16 seconds. Not only you will have all those benefits, flat attack and the extra pursuit from your direct damage skills, but also you get a 10% increase during the whole duration, which is super huge. For that specific reason, you have to choose the test. Now, I've tried many variations without the test, but whatever I've tried without the test damage seems to be so insignificant in comparison with that talent. Even if I thought that the RNG might be there and I'm not gonna always have high damage, I consider that at level 3 I have 80% to at least get 1 more second of Vulnerate still up. And this skill, sadly or gladly, provides with so much DPS. So this talent actually was the best from all the variations I've tried. Now, having more energy is also very crucial. Later on, when you're gonna have increased cooldown as well, you're gonna spam poison stings so much, especially with your set, so you're gonna need as high energy as possible. Especially cooldown, even 10% will benefit the most. The skill that will benefit out the most from cooldown is gonna be your vulnerate. Since it requires 90 seconds to get activated, a sweet 10% it's almost 10 seconds, so it's kinda huge. Now from this point, which I believe it's pretty straightforward, you have 3 talents to put on whatever you want. My variation that made me actually provided me with the highest DPS was this. From here on, wherever you put the last talent doesn't matter so much, because you're not gonna get the max damage out of the talent. I choose personally accumulation, but trust me, it doesn't really matter where you will put your last talent. And this is specifically without full optimization, of course, what will provide you with the most damage in the Cunning spec. Now, when you unlock sets, if you read the 8 piece of the Cunning Rogue, it provides you with some flat damage on your Poison Blade, but also when you use Poison Blade to land a combo on a target that takes dot from your poison, you have 25% chance to gain 1 level of poison additionally. Now, it's important to know that this is a set bonus and not a talent one. Why I'm saying that? Because if you go to your skills and you reset your talents and you rebuild them again, we're gonna have a small variation on that. And this is, of course, we're gonna go again with our stink and our poison damage. From this point, I'm gonna add one more layer to our combo rate, which, by the way, if you have like 60% plus combo, especially on 110 gear, you have to consider that 1% might be insignificant, and it's instead to put 1 talent on your Poison Blade. Moving on with our weakened strikes, of course, then we get the activation of the next layer of talents, and now, instead of getting more combo points, we're gonna activate the dual infection. And the reason for that is we have a 16% chance to get an activation as we landing a hit with Poison Blade. We're gonna have a chance to cast an additional Poison Blade without, of course, the talents being applied. But remember, sets are not talents. So if we get a Poison Blade additionally, that additional Poison Blade can combo, and if it combos, we can get an additional layer of poison. So have that in mind, that this skill over here, this talent over here, might be crucial when you complete your 8th set. Of course, the rest of your skills will be go as before. Get your vulnerate, get your extra seconds of damage layer, and instead now of putting 1 extra chance to accumulation, you can go 25%. When you use Poison Blade, it's 1 out of 4, which is pretty good, to cast 1 layer of poison. Sorry, to recast Poison Blade again, get 1 layer of poison, but this is something that works specifically when you complete your 8-piece set. And this is everything I had to say about talents. Okay, moving onward with another important topic, and this is the artifacts. I have to know that I've tried and tested all the artifacts, all the DPS artifacts individually. Okay, I didn't run them all together. I was not activating Vulnerate or other variations that might be DPS RNG. So this was pure testing from pure skills for about 5 minutes with each artifact, and those are the results from those artifacts. It's important to know that those DPS numbers doesn't matter. It was a purely test, but the difference between the artifacts matter, and each artifact was scaling differently in my spec. Now, if I was a dual swordsman or a hunter or a mage, those artifacts, those DPS artifacts, might scale in a different way. Okay, and the most important artifact that it was Interwind Fates, and I was very skeptical why this artifact provides me with so much damage. I came to the conclusion, and we discussed it earlier, that my dot, since I have a permanent dot on the opponent, also getting affected by overall attack. So every time this gets activated, not only I have boost on my all my skills, but also I'm getting the boost on my dot. This artifact might be good for other classes that have a dot, but have in mind that since it changes every 15 seconds, you have to pay attention, especially with Hunter and Mage, where you have a dot, to use that when the wind is activated in attack and not in defense. And it might be a little difficult because you can't check it besides your icon bar, you have to click it. That's kind of difficult when you play, for example, challenge mode, to check if the interwind is on attack. But we're gonna test also other classes, and we're gonna see then if those artifacts are beneficial or not for those classes. Now, Strife, Burst, Sprawl, and Crash, all of those artifacts were similar in damage. Invasion and High Energy Potion were the worst. Worth to mention that Crash, since we're playing a combo build, Crash provides us with critical chance where we can't find it from other sources, and the number that we're getting each second is like 2%. So let's calculate that maybe every like 5 to 6 seconds, around 5 to 6 seconds, sometimes it's 8, sometimes it might be 10, we'll get that extra guaranteed critical chance. Also, this is very important, and this is an important reason why we were playing. Let me showcase that. We were playing Fatal Strike in our talents. If you are playing a fight that you have to do mechanics, for example, and you run from here and there, the game considers you on combat. So you're gonna notice the critical chance getting updated and updated. So for example, if you run for 10 seconds, you have to do a mechanic. Let's take under consideration, for example, that you are playing challenge mode on Shark and you have to move from Whirlpool to Whirlpool. Maybe you lose 6 to 7 seconds, but all those 6 to 7 seconds will be for you a 15% increase to your critical chance. So then the moment that you will engage again to the Shark, you will have almost a guaranteed critical chance, since it's gonna be 25 to 30%. And imagine that you crit with Fatal Strike with all those sweet bonuses. So I had to mention that as well. It's pretty important and synergize with our build exceptionally. Also, Interwind Fates provides us with extra attack, and it scales with all the other artifacts. So getting increased attack from that specific artifact slot, we will get also increased damage from all the other artifacts that we have. Now, worth to mention as well that the reason that Invasion was not so successful, I was expecting from Invasion to be so I can actually do more damage from that, since I had uptime almost with 50% combo. I didn't have uptime in my stacks. I always had 4 stacks, but it seems I have it level 9 on purpose, so it's like level 10. So I was doing the test as a level 10 artifact. You see, I was expecting to actually pass Strive and Fates, but it didn't happen. The reason is that I was very skeptical about it, and the reason is that the base specialization that we have on combo, it's not 150 like critical damage, it's lower. So for that specific reason, I'm okay with that. Now, also worth to mention that, for example, artifacts in my case, like Overload, that provides me with critical damage, have to know that this specific spec, this specific artifact, stacks up to 4 times and lasts for 6 seconds. Sometimes in my testing with Crash, I wasn't doing criticals inside the 6 seconds mark, so I was losing my stacks from the Overload. So I felt like it's insignificant to have this specific artifact if I'm not playing a critical build, because of that reason. Since I'm losing my stacks, I passing many times the 6 seconds mark, it's pointless to play Overload. Invasion, for that specific reason, was much better, since I'm playing a combo build and I have more than 50% combo on my spec. Usually 1 out of 3 skills, it's a guaranteed combo, so I'm not losing my stacks. If I was playing dual, for example, Overload, yeah, it would be not only good, it would be perfect, because critical damage scales in different level. The same thing with Shatter, since it increases my combo rate. I already have like 50 55% combo rate. Usually I combo one out of 3 skills. It won't save the situation to increase my combo since I'm comboing so often. It's like a pointless artifact to play in the Cunning set. And with that being said, I think everything that you needed to know about artifacts. Alright, worth to mention as well for stat priorities. Of course, the most important stat to pay attention to its combo. You have to keep your combo as high as possible for you to get the activation of the energy control, which is the most important talent passive on your build. It will provide you with more poison damage overall and also will increase your energy cap. Remember that Cunning Rogue playing with energy, it's like mana, not exactly like mana, but it's like mana. So having an increased cap will make you spam more skills, especially at the starting of the battle. So have that in mind as well. Second priority should be Omni. My perspective is that if you reach a certain threshold on about 55 combo points, instead of getting from items max combo, for example, and as second stat Omni or cooldown, you should prioritize to get more Omni, for example, from this item, and as a secondary stat to get combo, so you can have the activation as well from your Omni. 36% increased damage on a skill that you spam so often, it's actually also very important, and sacrificing maybe 5% combo, it's not a deal breaker at the end of the day. So as a third stat, of course, cooldown is important, but not so much since you are playing with energy. But if you can optimize around 10%, get the 1 second extra on Fatal Strike, it's not insignificant since you will spam one more skill. And remember, this skill along with set items and talents will have 15% increase on your damage. So it's like spamming one more skill with 15% increased damage. It's not, also you can get more energy out of that from your total cooldown based on your Fatal Strike percentage of the damage. So have that in mind as well. But I will prioritize as a third one. Finish with your combo, finish with your Omni, and then if you have space to optimize for cooldown, go for it. Next, it's gonna be for sure Dexterity, as Dexterity provides a small amount of attack, but everything for our build scales based on attack. And most importantly, Poison scales based on attack, so we need Dexterity as a 4th stat. Later on, of course, you have to optimize your hit based on the current rates that we have on the game. Later, Focus, and if you have... Actually, those are everything that you have to focus, and Stamina. I just mentioned since it's a stat that you might have items for that. Make sure that you replace your colorful gems to the blue slots instead of the other slots. More DPS, you are playing a DPS class, so have that in mind as well. With that being said, that was everything regarding the stats. Now lastly, I left something that many people might be wondering about, and this is the assist, the macro for the Cunning Rogue. I spent it so many hours to understand how this system actually works, and gladly, I'm not gonna disappoint you, I made the perfect macro for the Cunning spec. And let's view it pretty fast, and with that I think we cover everything regarding the Cunning Rogue. Now, what do you want from your macro, let's say? The most important thing to know is that the order where you put your skills, it matters. So have that in mind. If I switch something, it will completely ruin my rotation. So I have Poison cast skill directly. That means that every time my Poison will be marked with the highlighted mark, always the priority will be this. It doesn't matter if I am in inscribed stone state, my Poison will be casted, okay? Secondly, this was torturing to understand why I had problems in the inscribed stone state. By the way, the recommended build, it's not bad, okay? The only problem that the recommended build has is that it's using wrong skills when you activate your resonance. That's it. For many people said I'm using the recommended and it's just fine. It is just fine. The only problem is that when you activated your inscribed stone skill, your character spams whatever skills, okay? The only skill that will be casted correctly is your poison, but after that it doesn't cost poison blade and might be used in blade slash that requires energy and will ruin your DPS. So the only reason that you have to make, actually there are two reasons that you have to make a macro. Firstly, it's this: when you activate your Inscription state, you have to give priority to poison blade. But with this order, it will be even in Inscription state. The first skill that will be casted is poison, and then it's gonna cast poison blade until you have poison again. Will be cast poison again. Now, third skill of importance, it's the poison sting. We don't have to cast poison if it's less than 1 stack. So if it's 0, it won't cast your skill. Actually, you can't cast it anyway if you have lower than 1, but you have to set it, and not less than 20 seconds. Now, in this specific part that I wanted also to change it, and I find the opportunity now, since I'm gonna put it 15. For one specific reason, when you are fighting bosses and all those things, where you want to maximize your DPS, you want to cast as much poison stings as possible before the boss enters some specific phase and your poison will get deleted. So this way, usually you will recast your poison in about the last 5 seconds to 6 seconds, so you don't lose so much. This is also something that I wanted to add and I had forgot. Thankfully I made this video and I remembered. Now moving on with your Twin Blade Slash, you don't want this to be casted more than 3 times. Every time that you have 4, the macro won't activate the skill, it will activate your Poison Blade instead. Poison Blade the same, not more than 4. And you have to place energy not less than 40 for 2 reasons. This is actually the second reason that why you have to set the macro. And this is because Twin Blade Slash costs 40 energy. And if you need 1 second for your Twin Blade energy to be removed out of cooldown, if you have 30 energy, you're gonna cast Poison Blade. And if you don't have energy, then you have to wait until you get 40 again, so you can cast Twin Blade Slash. With this way, every time you have 40 energy, only this way your Poison Blade will be casted. And if the Twin Blade Slash is out of cooldown, instead of using that, you will use Twin Blade Slash by adding also a layer if you see remaining cooldown not equal to 0. So if I have Twin Blade up, I won't cast Poison Blade again. This is actually purely to not miss any Twin Blade Slashes. So even if you have Twin Blade Slashes 1 second cooldown until it gets out of cooldown, you will always cast the skill instead. And showcasing the macro as well. The only thing that you have to pay attention actually is when you will use your Fatal Strike, and that's it. Everything else with this macro works perfectly. The only thing that you have to pay attention is where you use your Fatal Strike, because they don't have some macro to actually notice if you have Fatal Strike on to cast your Twin Blade Slash. So if I have, for example, 2 stacks and I use this, 3 stacks, I will use Twin Blade Slash, but I will waste 2 levels of poison. So have in mind where you will use your Fatal Strike. Now, your rotation, after I cast my Fatal Strike, I'm just gonna spam my macro and you will see that every time it will prioritize my poison. Now that I have less than 15, I'm gonna build again, as you can see my layers, gonna recast poison again. And now the rotation is prioritizing always my poison sting. If I have out of cooldown my slashes, which is the second skill, and if I have nothing on cooldown, I will always casting my Poison Blade, okay? And this is how macro works. As you saw, I didn't cast it my Fatal Strike. I wasn't paying attention too much, by the way, but I didn't cast it so I don't waste my poison levels, okay? Of course, you can use as well your Vulnerate. It will skyrocket your DPS. Now important to know is that let's run it actually, since it's a showcase video about builds. Let's actually run it till our inscribed stone so you guys actually see it. Now I'm gonna stop actually doing anything because I want to cast my Fatal Strike. as you can see, cast my Toon Slice again and spam some poison stings. This is actually the only thing that you have to pay attention. This is the Fatal Strike. Everything, and of course the mechanics of the boss, okay? Everything else works perfectly by doing nothing. As you see, even without a set, my DPS is like 2700 on the boss without potions, without everything. Now, as you see, I am on 4 layers, okay, with Inscribed Stone open. Make sure to use Fatal Strike, press the Inscribed Stone, and then spam your macro. Everything will work, as you see, intendedly perfectly. And with that said, I think we reached at the end of the video. I want to believe that you found it helpful. Drop a like, subscribe to the channel if you want. If you are interested in more TarisLand insights, I'm planning to cover all the classes eventually. It will take some time because I have to run so many tests. Thanks for watching, and until next time, see ya!